pulling them over trunks of trees. It's just crazy.
There we go. Get out of there, boy.
Good morning, guys. It is Nick Mulbauer here, and today we're going to be talking about being decisive during the fall transition, and particularly the early fall transition, early parts of the fall transition. Now, right now, we have bait fish, and they are scattered everywhere. We got bluegill ripping all along the surface. We got shad out in open water. We got shad on flats. We got shad everywhere. Bait fish are just spread out as they can be. We got some of the lowest water of the season. And what that usually means for my waters is we have some pretty decent clarity too. Obviously, clarity is relative to your body of water, but I'm talking for the body of water I've been fishing, it's clarity that I prefer. It's in that 18 to probably 2.5 foot range, 18 inch to 2.5 feet. And that's a clarity I really like to work with. The bottom end of that being like maybe less than a foot in some of those mud flats. That's what the clarity is, but that is also working in my favor with how I like to fish. Generally, when I'm out on the water, what I like to do on relatively calm days is I like to let nature kind of tell me what it's doing, and I like to let nature tell me where the fish are or where I think the fish might be. And what I mean by that is I will scan the surface of the water for bait fish. Whether that be up close to shore or whether it be out in open water, I like to scan the surface of the water for life. That is what I do. So like I said, I just dumped my kayak in the water and I started scanning. I tried to let nature tell me what I should be doing. And what I ended up doing was just off a mud flat, I was noticing a bunch of shad and bass feeding, smaller bass. I could kind of tell that they're smaller bass, but you know, possibility of a big one, maybe mixed in. What those bass were relating to was a break, a submerged break off a mud flat, and it's a rocky break, so I always like rocky breaks more than just, you know, featureless breaks. I just started fishing parallel down that submerged break. I would bomb my crankbait out as far as I possibly could, and I would just kind of slow roll it back, sometimes faster. I would bury my retrieve back with that crankbait, and that's how I'd get hit. I was kind of right on a point, you know, my kayak was right here on this point, and I was fishing this break and I was fishing this break with that crank, and I was getting hit on both sides of that break. It's kind of two breaks that come to a point. It's all underwater. I marked it with my helix, so that's kind of how I was able to line up on these breaks. I use my side imaging to line up on these breaks and kind of just work those areas. I fished it pretty quick because, like I said, I had only been seeing smaller bass blown up on these shad, and what I was catching was smaller bass. I mean, these bass were, I think one of them was probably an 8-incher. I just wasn't picking up any decent sized bass. So the next thing I did was I quickly went over to some deeper water and I started fishing a point with a Ned rig. Kind of went around the corner where it goes shallow, fished the Ned rig around some laydowns, and I wasn't getting bit, you know, just not getting any bites, nothing. And it wasn't until I switched over to a jig and pitched directly in to the laydown that I had been pitching around with a Ned rig that I got a decent fish, you know, kind of more along the size that I prefer to catch. I had been pitching that Ned rig around that laydown pretty thoroughly. I fished it very thoroughly, and I think maybe on the second or third bite with the jig going directly into the tree, I picked that decent one up. So I mean, that Ned rig landed all around that bass, but not on top of him. And that's when I got the bite, and that's what started cluing me in on fishing thick cover and in the cover. Got ticked.
There we go, jig in the hole. jig eating son of a gun. There we go. Alright folks, first good one, and it's on a black and blue micro jig. How about that with a red fleck trailer? There we go guys, first decent one of the day, and we're switching it up. We're trying some different things. We'll get that one back.
During the earlier parts of the day, the sun was starting to rise. We're starting to have, pockets of shade show up. Shade becomes more important because when that sun's low, the entire lake is in shade because the sun hasn't rose yet. But when that sun gets high enough, it will start developing pockets of shade where, the trees cast shade on the water, or a laydown will cast shade on the water. Those laydowns will create shade under them, and once that sun gets a little bit higher in the morning, those bass, I think, start relating to those pockets of shade. I was honestly trying to get it in there while still having an opportunity to maybe get a fish out of that stuff, because there's some areas where you could probably throw in and it would get dicey trying to maybe get a fish out. I still wanted the opportunity to be able to feel like I could get the fish out of that cover because that stuff is so thick. Sometimes though, you can literally get in stuff so thick that you're pulling bass like out of the water over limbs. We've done it before, man. I've seen my buddy do it. I've done it. Like, you're pulling them over trunks of trees, and it's just crazy.
There we go. Get out of there, boy. My goodness. And here we go, folks. Another one on the jig. Let's get this sucker landed. Oh, man. I'll tell you what, guys. This is a game of highs and lows today. Oh, another one on the jig in the thickest cover. There we go, guys. Another one. And you guys saw that bite. That was crazy. A little blow up there. I tell you what, guys, these fish are in the thickest stuff. You need to be in it. I know I always stress that, but these fish are in it like crazy today. Oh my goodness. Let me get turned around here and we'll talk about it. So this is not isolated cover. This is just cover. We got down trees everywhere. And what I did was, where all these logs are intersecting, that's where I tossed my jig. I figured those logs would be creating a lot of shade right in there. So that's why I figured a bass would be tucked up under that stuff. I'm still out in about a foot or two of water, but that's what they are doing. I've lost several just trying to wrench them over logs. It has been tough, but it's been really fun. That's a really fun way to catch them. But yeah, just fishing trees. They are tucked up in it. So we'll see if we can pick off one or two more. I've lost as many as I've caught, so that's 2 good ones. I've lost 2 good ones, and it's just up close and personal combat, guys. That's what this is. And it is a lot of fun, and it can be very heartbreaking too. Just setting hooks on them. I've had good hook sets, but somehow they still have been managing to shake it. So we'll see if we can catch a couple more yet. That is really fun. Very fun when you actually succeed. Oh yeah, Alright guys, now we're getting into them. The black and blue jig, red trailer's getting it done now. I was about reeling that one in. Whew. This is some wild stuff, guys. There we go. There's another good one on the jig. Black and blue jig, red flag, black trailer. Wrenching them out of this wood, guys. Get some heavy line and just start picking that stuff apart. That's all there is to it. Get a kayak, get on the water, and start just dissecting this stuff like crazy. That was my fourth or fifth cast up in that wood, and I was ripping it up over a limb, and that's where he came in and just crushed it like you saw there. Just crazy fishing, guys. It's just wild. Just a whole different kind of fishing, guys. Whew, it's a lot of fun.
That's what I did for a good chunk of the earlier morning hours. Not early morning, but when the sun got high enough and started making shade, like I said, that's when I started fishing the jigs. Started fishing the jigs on that gnarly cover, all those trees. At a certain point as the morning progressed, I just got a gut feeling that told me these fish were not going to be set up as much on these laydowns. The sun coming down, beating down, super hot day. I thought maybe some of them might start moving off out into a little bit deeper water. So what I did was I ditched the jig. The bites were slowing way down, and just started fishing the various depths with a Ned rig. And that's how I closed out the day. I just stair-stepped my Ned rig down those breaks, and I was kind of like doing a mixture of peppering it with bounces, but also kind of swimming it. I pick it up, and I would let it fall. I feel like a lot of these bass are on a bait fish pattern. They're chasing shad. They're beginning to chase shad hard as ever. They're getting to get fat for winter, and they are just feeding up on bait fish this time of year. One of the biggest ones I got on the Ned rig was done swimming that Ned rig. Not really doing much bottom bouncing stuff, but a nice sweep off the bottom. So as a quick recap, I just want to reiterate that I just let nature kind of tell me where I thought the fish would be that day. I was just scanning for bait fish, just out in open water or on the shore. I was just scanning for shad, scanning for bluegill, and just seeing if I could find feeding bass. It was a relatively calm day, and when you just are observant and keep a keen eye on those visuals, that I will go over to those areas and start fishing them. And it can be very effective doing that, and also making changes when you think they need to be made. So I started the day cranking because I saw bass keying in on shad off a submerged break. And when that kind of closed out and I wasn't catching the sizes I wanted, I moved to fishing a Ned rig. Was not getting bit, so I pitched a jig into a laydown and got my first decent one, fished that pattern, ended up with a few doing that. And when the sun got real high and started getting really hot, I just decided again to make the change and start fishing deeper water. So just listen to your gut, use your intuition, and make changes when you think they need to be made. Because if you're fishing and it doesn't feel right, then it's time to make a change. I'm finding more often than ever that every time it doesn't feel right and I don't feel like I'm going to get bit, I will make a change and I start getting bit again. So that's the recap, guys. And again, I hope these videos are helpful. And if you got any questions or want to have a conversation with me, just holler. And we can talk more on fishing, because I love talking about fishing. I can talk about fishing all day for hours and hours and hours to a ridiculous degree. So leave a comment, talk to me, tell me what you're learning about your fisheries or what they're doing on your water, or ask a question about, if I have any thoughts on how you can maybe fish your water. And yeah, if this is helpful and you like it, subscribe. I do appreciate it, because like I said, I really want to keep pushing out these videos, and that really helps Y'all take care. I'm going to let you go. This was a tough one this morning. My dog woke me up super early, and I'm just like kind of out of it. So really hope that I can cut this and make it good. So y'all take care. I'm going to go have some coffee and wake up. Have a good day, guys. Peace.